All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So I'll just start by talking about the libraries. So I'm a little script right here. So the pandas library is pretty much Python's version of R's dplyr. So it's used for data wrangling and data cleaning. Pretty straightforward description of pandas. Matplotlib is pretty much ggplot, ggplot2 for Python. So since I already know there's not that many people here, you guys already know what ggplot2 is. So
actually, yeah. Can I ask for those of you who are new here, how familiar are you guys with like coding?
I'm CS major,
Okay.
and I know somewhat of Python. Right now I'm taking Intro to Python for fun, and what's it called? Data analysis.
Cool. And then,
all right,
okay, so Felix with the basics, and Michael with Python experience. Okay, good to know.
So I don't need to explain too much of them because people already know what classes are and all that stuff that I'll be talking about later, and functions that you can already see right there. So then next is NumPy. So it pretty much helps with arrays. It pretty much it's a class that comes built in with a bunch of functions that pretty much do a lot of the work that does a lot of the work I don't need to do again. There's datetime for handling dates, and I'll show that later on. And the most important one is Beautiful Soup, and it pretty much works through an LXML file that gets downloaded through the request library. So pretty much what the request library does is pretty much it kind of scans it, the whole HTML code and what you see, the source code, and Beautiful Soup pretty much dissects that. So, and Panda's data reader is that pretty much like built-in, like I guess servers kind of that Pandas kind of connects to, and I'll be using it with Yahoo Finance because this whole presentation will be based on like basic like financial statements. And statistics is just for statistics. So, you know, like mean, variance, standard deviation, the basics. And I won't be touching sklearn. I don't know why I have it. I probably was messing around with the data I scraped. I thought I could make some type of linear regression. So I guess I'll go to the next one, number 2, and it's to get the user stock ticker symbol. So every stock has like a 3 to like 5 or 6 word. So for Pepsi, it's Pep, and I guess can I run it? Oh, I can run it. All right. What company you guys interested in looking into? I guess I'll ask the audience.
Let's look at Bitcoin.
No, like a real company. That's an asset. Because it only works with publicly traded companies. That's
Apple.
Apple and Tesla are pretty popular right now.
All right, let's do Apple. So we'll run it. Well, I'm gonna run this, run that again, and then the internet's so bad right now for me. I'm so sorry, guys. Wasn't it running? Hold on, let me stop sharing for a quick moment. I want to look into this again because I actually need a really good internet connection for this to work. So, hindsight being 2020. Let's see. Let's see, real quick. APL. Perfect. All right. I'm gonna share again. Share screen and share. All right, perfect. So I just typed in AAPL, so that's Apple's ticker symbol. Because right here it asked for input. I don't know why it wasn't running quickly. But yeah, so it's pretty much going to ask the user to pick a dividend-paying stock because that's the type of stocks I look for. And it's APL for Apple. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to these functions later on, and kind of explain their significance later on as we get to them. And I'm gonna skip straight to the actual web scraping part of it. So right here, I made a variable that says soup getter, and it pretty much takes in this whole URL link. I see all of it. Yeah, it's a long one, and it goes to a specific stock or ticker symbol by the company. So if we go, let me go unshare and share you where this goes to. Straight to Yahoo Finance. APL for Apple. And right there, give me the all right, perfect. I'll share again. Share. All right, you guys can see my screen? I'll take as a yes.
Yeah, we can see it. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. So usually you have the whole URL of the web page you want to scrape. So you pretty much want to take data from. And usually you have to look at the source code. So just go to inspect element. What I do, you kind of cheat it. And right there. It's really taking a while. All right.
Sorry, can you say what you're looking again?
Yeah, I'm looking at the source code of the HTML. So usually I go to the whole link, and whatever page you want to web scrape, you can just copy and paste it. And
Looking for.
really slow. And this is what I'm looking for. Perfect. Right here. So I'm looking for this table right here of data that I want to take. Do you see it highlighted right here?
Okay.
Like has a date and then what's called dividends, which is like small payments. So pretty much you pretty much have to take I'm not explaining it well, I'm sorry, but you have to look for special keywords within the whole HTML code. So it helps a lot if you know HTML code. And you pretty much have to copy this and copy that into the class method. And I'll go and share it back to the other actual code. Yeah. So right here, if you guys saw the HTML code, the URL is right here. And the way I made it to take in any stock is I used format and your inputted stock for ticker symbol. And I pretty much put into these brackets. And right here, with the dot format method, you can kind of put in like any string inside of another string. So for user stock, I want it right here to get the quote. So quote for Apple, so APL. And it gives you the periods all the way to some other date you want, which is what epoch to date does. And what epoch time is pretty much the amount of seconds from January 1st from 1970 onwards. So every time I run it, it gets me the exact second and epoch time to go to the that pretty much equates to today's date. So if you print it right here, I'm asking it with a date now function classes to pretty much give me today's date, and it's 21st of January 2021. And I pretty much get the dates function that I made up here, where it's right here, where it pretty much takes in the whole string based in the whole string of this date that I highlighted. It pretty much breaks it down to just this. So just the first part. So it kind of just splits this part off because we won't need it for actual like time series further down the line. And using the date time function, which I kind of just take advantage of to just get a bunch of dates based in different days and years. So right here for 10 years from today, I use the datetime function to get 10 years from now. So 10 times 365 is 10 years roughly, because every year has 365 days. And it should be printed right there. So of 2011. So not exactly because leap, but roughly about 10 years ago. And then what Pandas does has it's also kind of connects to like base data sets, and it has one that gets straight to Yahoo Finance. So for this data, I didn't have to web scrape it technically, and it just gets to the native database that Pandas is connected to. So I pretty much use dot format to put in any string inside of another string, and right here I just put in whatever user stock I asked. So if we wanted to get Coke for Coca-Cola, I could easily just change this into K or KO for Coke instead of just AAPO for Apple. So, and then I get the start and end dates right here. So I got it for the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year. I just chose those arbitrary numbers because I just like seeing them in time series. So right here, it gives me the whole data set for the 10 year, and the very bottom gives me the epoch time. So it's Unix time from 1970, the amount of seconds from 1970, January 1st to, I guess, like right this second or close to right this second. And right here, it pretty much does that again, but it just flips it again with the NumPy class, and it goes straight to the flip method. And you input years, because that's the years that I wanted to get up here. So that kind of explains the epoch today. So the number of seconds from 1970 to now. So I can get the most current date for my web scraping data. So now that I explained the string more than I wanted to, let me get to the actual web scraping part of it. And I made a function that does soup getter. And this is the most interesting part, and this is probably why people showed up. Go straight to soup getter, skip the dates, locator again. Soup getter. All right. So what the request library does, it's like I said before, it pretty much gets the data straight from any URL you get, and it pretty much just sends a bot over and just kind of scans everything. It scans repeatedly, and it pretty much gets it in text format. So that's why I have the text method, and the beautiful soup actually digs through it and makes it readable for Python as a class and its own methods. And then in this function, I just make it return soup because that's what's readable with beautiful soup. So to iterate, the request sends out pretty much a little bot that kind of just looks into an exact string that has the website. Search var should be somewhere here, but it does have the variable you want to search, the whole string you want to search. Beautiful soup kind of digs through it, and with source pretty much has a copy of the data you want in an untangled form, which is why I have a bunch of for loops and functions and classes down under in the script. And yeah, is there any questions? I'm pretty sure I'm doing this not too well.
So in the soup getter function,
Yeah.
if you take off the dot text, what happens?
That's a good question. Let me run it actually. Why not? Well, I already know. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. It doesn't make it too readable in a text format, and we kind of need that for beautiful soup to function properly.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, because then it's just going to be unreadable for Beautiful Soup, and
Mhm.
for the request data to work with Beautiful Soup, it has to be in with a doc. Pretty much has to be text.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's my explanation. So right here with SoupGetter, I just put in the whole HTML I want, and I use this for loop to get financial information. So for the guy who asked why it what happens when you don't get it in dot text, so right here I have just I for every in the dupe set variable. That's a whole list of it, the whole thing, and it finds every instance. So find all of the tags of TD and the class this class. So that's why I went to the website and found exactly these 2 points, because it has the table that I wanted, and that table isn't available in a downloadable format. Not always. Sometimes it is, but the whole intention of this was like for DataFest and to get that that outside data point, but that won't be happening this year, this academic year. So I'll just show you right now. You get this ugly mess when you don't have .text method, and it's not really readable. So you get this, the actual like source code by how it is, and with .text it gets you the actual information that's kind of like encased in that. So that's this. So that's why we put .text, because it gets us the actual data we want. Because this is what I want, these numbers or this information. I don't really want this when I'm working. Yeah. And right here is the .split method that's native to Python. It pretty much just splits it by any character you put. In this case, I put a space, and the reason I wanted to put a space is because I wanted to get rid of this character dividend, and I just wanted the number by itself. So I just started to split it into its own array of just 0.205 and just dividend, and then up here it pretty much counts it all the way. It pretty much checks if it's a number or not. And yeah. Is there any questions? Does that explain why I wanted .text and not?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, because I don't want to have this to work with, because I can't really work this. I have to wrangle it.
Mhm.
And I wrangle it down to just this. And I had .split, the method, which pretty much breaks up because this whole thing is an array, not an array, a whole string. Well, it works for both, because Python's a little weird. It's not really a real programming language, it's more of a scripting language, but yeah, it pretty much splits either an array or a string. In this case, it's all a string. And I had it at space, so it pretty much gets this whole thing as its own individual string and puts it into a array, and then it stops counting right here, and then it continues adding more items into the list or array, whichever you prefer calling it.
Okay. In the class underscore parameter,
Where's that at?
it's for date in divsoup.findAll.
For date, yeah.
Does it? You're looking for? I think it was a table, right?
Oh, that's for the years I want that are associated with these.
Okay.
Yeah. So for this, it's pretty much similar to it wants to get data from this, so it's a different table that has pretty much the whole column of dates. So let me go back to can you see this?
I can see it.
All right. So the date.
website or the?
Yeah, it's a website. It's a whole website right here. I pretty much got the whole website right here.
Jose, we can't see the website. We still
you
see
can't see
Jupyter
the
Notebook.
website.
Wait. All right. What do you guys?
We just see Jupyter Notebook.
Oh.
You might have to put it like on display mode if that's what you want to do.
All right, and I'll share it again, I guess. All right. Can you see it? Wait. Share. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
All right. Do you see where where it's highlighted? So
yeah.
So what the pretty much does it what request does is it gets this information right here, this whole link, puts it as a string, goes into the internet, and pretty much like scans this whole web page. And what I did with the TD class PY and the rest of it is I pretty much honed it down to just get information from right here.
Oh, makes sense.
Out of everything. So from there, I got its own variable and its own like string, like huge string that you have to like break down in Wrangle, which is why I had those for loops and if statements to pretty much like cut it down to just these two.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole date for loop that you talked about just gets this information right here. Well, not this, but this, the associated years I wanted with this. And the dividends is just this part of it, the second half. So if I share it again to the data, the code, and right here for dividend dates, if you remember the tags correctly from the HTML code, it should be the same as this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little different from the one up here because this one looks specifically for the actual numbers I wanted that I showed right here. And this just gets me the actual dates I want.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah, so it has to be like kind of arranged at a 1 by 1.
Yeah. So are you reading like the columns in individually? Essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, pretty much with every for loop. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Not here. It's double. It's pretty much embedded into each other. But that's just to get rid of
That's just because
to get rid of this.
it's because the dividend is attached to the number, right?
Yeah, it's a whole string, and I just wanted this to be by
Yeah.
itself. And later on, I think that you convert it as an integer. Somewhere later on in the code, if I can catch it.
Yeah, right there where you append it, you make it into a float, right?
Yeah, right there. Perfect. Yeah, a float. Yeah, because there's cents involved. It's a dividend. Yeah, it's a payment. So there's cents involved. So I just made it to a float to make my life easier. And a float is pretty much a double in C++ for people who don't remember or know. So right here, PD data frame is how you make an actual data frame from an array. So right here, I titled the dates column from the array of dividend dates. So right here, it gets all the dates I wanted. And since it gets in the wrong order I want, I had the numpy.flip class method to actually flip all the dates into the actual order I wanted. And same thing, likewise with the dividends.
Jose, we have a question in chat. So the question is, in the function soup getter, why do we ask the parse data to convert it to LXML if later on we'll want to turn it into .text for readability?
Let me go back up and repeat it again. That's the soup getter function.
Soup getter. I think it's further down.
Yeah, right here. Okay, yeah, perfect. All right, what's the question again? I'm sorry.
So you know how when you do the source, you request it and then you use the .text to make it into text? They're asking why do we, what does the LXML do exactly, I think, because they're confused why you convert it to LXML. Okay,
perfect. Yeah, let me share again to the website. And it's pretty much the type of, it's LXML is pretty much specifying that's a website. Because you can technically use Beautiful Soup for other things besides websites, but it's predominantly used for web scraping.
So does it essentially like format it in a, like knowing it's a website, it formats it in a way to like make it easier? Okay. Michael, does that answer your question? Oh, okay, yeah. Cool.
Is that a yes?
That's a yes.
All right, perfect. All right. So where was I? So does this kind of make sense? Oh yeah, PD data frame is pretty much the title of the column, the actual array to get the actual like data points into it. And a quick side note is that these have to match, of course, or else it's not going to really execute properly. So these are already these by themselves, they're their own arrays already. So I'm using the for loop to fill it up. I'll take the silence as a yes. So it's pretty much the same thing repeated all over again. You just need the link. You format what I want. So if I wanted to be a different stock, I need to change it to a different ticker symbol and put it right here. And this time it's for CNBC. And that's just to get the actual name of the company and get it by itself. Because I'll actually need the name of the company by its actual name later for other things to web scrape properly. And I'll go over this try and accept right now. I'll go and chat. Do people know what a try and accept is? Let me check in. Can you read the chat for me, Christian?
Yeah, I got you.
Like, do people know what try and accept is for? It's bad programming. I'm not gonna lie, because you're not supposed to really do it. But I guess when I was programming this, I was a little lazy.
Phoebe says no, but
All right, well, I'll explain then. So pretty much what the try and accept keywords do is they pretty much tell Python to do something, and if there's an error, do this other thing. So that's kind of like, in layman's terms, what it kind of means.
it's usually used for file reading, right? So like if
Yeah.
you can't read in a file, like make a new one.
Yeah,
like
pretty
that.
much. Yeah. And with Pan, Beautiful Soup, it's kind of like, it's not used exactly just for web scraping. It can also be used for files. But sometimes there is a mistake, and there's a better way of doing this. I'm not gonna cap. There is a better way, but I guess I was just lazy and I never got back to fixing it. But yeah, it does work though. It does give me my actual name. And the reason I have a 0 for right here, which I should explain, is that split name is actually a whole array. Because when you split it, you create an array. When you use the split method, you create this whole array. So the whole array is, yeah. This is technically like an array of just individual strings and of 2 strings of apple and ink. And it's pretty much saying, oh, like if the company's name isn't just one like whole like string. I mean, try it first if it's its own string, and if it's more than just its own string, then just replace the empty space with this. And since apple is its own thing, I guess it just does like that.
Hey,
And this
Jose, there's a question.
Oh yeah, can you read it out? Yeah.
Michael says, what's the difference between try and accept versus if and else if?
I mean, try and accept. All right, so else and if is just to. All right, well, I'm gonna start with try and accept. Try and accept. The best way I can explain it is, it kind of surpass it. When you do a try and accept, it goes over an. If you have an if and it, the stops. So my program just keeps on going, even if there is an error. Or else, if it was an else if statement, if there was an error in the code, it'll just like break it immediately because there's an error.
Michael, to get back to you also as well, you could in theory kind of use if and else if and try and accept like interchangeably. The main difference between them is probably going to be performance. So like try and accept will be faster in certain cases, but it'll be slower in others. So usually you want to use try and accept, like I said, for things like files.
Yeah.
While if you're like just running a program, if and else will usually work better, because try and accept, I believe it works faster when like you know the answer 99% of the time. So 99% of the time that file will be there. Maybe you only have to make it once. But if you're running a program, I think if and else will be better. But I could be wrong on that.
No, I think you're right for that, Christian. You got the more CS answer. I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna use a try and accept. So yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much just taking abusing the soup getter function, and putting in whatever strings I wanted into this big string to actually web scrape properly of the stock's ticker name and that company's actual name. And I'll probably, yeah, it's more or less the same. I'll probably go, yeah. And these are just other ways of just data cleaning it. So what I want to really get across is the beautiful soup. This whole example right here, that you pretty much taken this whole div, this find all method for div soup that you created from soup getter, the soup getter function. It just looks over these tags and pretty much makes a long like array of characters, and you pretty much want to make your own, the way you see the code, the way you see the source code. My apologies. The way you see the source code and how you want to be formatting it, because it can be a little different. It's not always super standardized, which is why you have all these different for and if statements. And right here, you have a try and accept 2 within the if and else statement, like Christian said before. And this is to get the quarterly annual earnings per share of a stock. Yeah. I'll go straight to the matplotlib part of the portion because that's just graphs, and I think they're pretty cool. So yeah. So right here, for matplotlib, I mean, was there any questions of the beautiful soup thing? It's pretty much just copy and paste the whole link of a website you want to take information from, and you pretty much dig into the source code. And once you get the source code, you pretty much find the ticker symbols that you want that has the actual data table, or it just words in general that you want. And from there, you can just work on breaking it down and simplifying and getting into the proper data types, like an integer or a float or a string like I have up here earlier on. And you make it into a actual data table with pd.dataframe. It should be, yeah, you pretty much convert to whatever you want once you break it down to its own string, and you forcibly convert to a float or an integer, or keep it as string if you want, and use pd.dataframe to make it into a data table. Like right here. Yeah, the years and the dividends. And here's the dates too. Does that make sense? I should probably look at the chat.
Yeah, and then someone said this is really cool. Stephanie says your project is really cool, Jose. So very good job.
I'm doing a really bad job explaining AI, but
you're fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'll just go straight to the plots because it's pretty much the same story, but just transforming it differently and making it into different data types I want. Like right here too. Right here I read I did find all for these tags of div and cell count. I appended it as a string and the itext to make it more. I don't need this, but I don't know why I put it, but itext would just work perfectly fine. And once I get the array I wanted, I made these columns for the columns I actually do want. So right here for desired balance. Oh, that's just for my when I was making this, I was forgetting what columns I wanted to add on, so I just kind of wrote it down like this. It probably doesn't do much. Oh no, it does actually. My bad. So pretty much what this does. Actually, let me go back to the website. It's for MarketWatch. Yeah, it's for MarketWatch. All right, I'll go back to it, and I'll show you exactly why I did what I did. This whole presentation. Let's see. I'll show it real quick. I guess I can share it now. Yeah, that's a good time. So share screen. Oh, wait. All right, that's not what I wanted. Go out. All right, perfect. So as you can see, this is called the balance sheet, and it's pretty much one of the three main financial statements of a company. And what I really want to do is to get certain rows instead of their initial columns for their own fiscal year. And if I do remember correctly, I was looking for total current assets, and also like total current liabilities and current liabilities, and total liabilities. And when I was reading it, it was giving me all these strings that I wanted. So I pretty much had to make that one array to check just to give me the specific columns I wanted. So if I wanted just this instead of this whole column right here, I would just specify in that one array that I just wanted this. And I give them their own index numbers. So from 0 to however long this is, I had it over there. It pretty much just got that one specific row based on the index numbers. So I guess and you can see it right here too. So if you wanted, let's see. Right here. So you get to actually really dig deep into it. So what do you want specifically? And you can see where it's highlighted. Can you see where it's highlighted, guys?
Yeah.
I'll take
Yeah,
it. So you can always dig deeper and dig deeper into what you really want from the data. So you just wanted this whole box where it's screened. You can just go into just get really specific, which is div, and then for the class parameter, just put this in. So that's why I had 2 strings for the parameters before, for the string div and for the parameter class, which is class underscore, because class is a keyword to make class objects. So yeah, so you pretty much just kind of like explore a little bit and see where you want. Yeah, like right here, like bad debt, doubtful accounts. You do div and then video info. I don't know why they named it that, but that's what it was for that one highlighted area. Yeah. So if you just wanted this, this will be all you need right here. But what I did previously, and I'll show you with the code, is I kind of just read up everything. I got a list of the rows I wanted. So I just wanted the whole current assets, the total assets, total current liabilities, and total liabilities. And I made it into its own sorted balance sheet because when I read it in, it just gave me the whole thing, and I didn't want the whole thing. I just wanted like 4 main things. So I read for every item in the decider list for a whole range. If it was one of these things, to add it in. If not, then don't. Just leave it out. And this is what I got from ultimately doing that and kind of like cleaning it up a little with this real triple for loop. This is what I got ultimately. And I'll show you down, you make it into its own data frame to be workable for graphing and other stats. And you name the columns with year for years, total current assets. I use the locator function actually, which does a lot more of the data cleaning. Let me go back. Let me go back up to it. And right here. So if you guys saw on the balance sheet, it would say a B for like $1 billion because it's a big company that you're looking for, M for million, and T for trillion, depending on the company. So some Apple's like $1 trillion overall, $1 trillion market cap. So I had to make a T for that example. So if I didn't have T for Apple and we used Apple as an example, it wouldn't really work really too well. And it pretty much goes through the whole array. And the reason I have this is because of it. Because if a number was between these 2 brackets, it signifies that it's a negative number. So if it's true, then like get that number all the way to the one right before it and make it into a negative. But anyways, it pretty much converts the numbers from strings to actual workable numbers. So it multiplies whatever number they have. So if it's 1, but if it's 1T, that actually means it's 1 trillion. So I multiplied it by 1 trillion. So that's what this whole locator does, this locator function. So back to where I was. Yeah. So pretty much you read in as a list all the numbers that were as strings, and use the locator function to do all the transformations from a string to a actual number. And you can see it's like 1.086 something to the power of 10 to the 11th for total current assets of Apple. And down here, I graphed that into right here into an actual like actual graph that you can show somebody, like in DataFest you would. And yeah, and right here it uses a matplotlib. You can actually change the style you want. So later down here, I use BMH. It's you can look it up online for different styles. So right there is BMH for those 2. This one I use ggplot, so it's right from R. So that was really nice. So you guys can recognize the style. All stats majors.
Can you interpret one of those graphs for us?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'll do this one. So this is the net income of Apple, and it's pretty much how much money the company takes in pockets after they pay for all their employees, their rent for facilities, all the chips they had to pay for their iPhones, and all the stuff they had to pay, and their taxes, and how much they get to take home. So in 2018, they pretty much made a record net income of 6 to times 10 to the 10th power. So that's a lot of money that pretty much the C-suite people got to take home and split amongst themselves, all the big bosses.
Is that like 10 trillion or something like that?
No, it's more. I mean, I'm gonna need a calculator, but it's a big number.
Cool. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and what I usually use is to see like where the trend is for a company. So if I was gonna like buy their stock, and I'm gonna see like, oh, they're trending upwards, right? And I don't have to look at these really long like tables of data where I can just see one picture. And that's why I kind of had the whole transformation things of the numbers before. So right here, I guess I'll explain. Oh, I guess we're going to the assets part of it. So this is for the style you want. This is for like aesthetic purposes. You really don't need it. You can get rid of it. It'll give you like a boring like black and white graph. But I don't want that. I want colors. So yeah. So PLT plot is for a line graph. And right here, it's pretty similar to, this is data I want. So it's from the balance sheet data frame. And to look under the column, because this now it's more of a dictionary, a data frame. It's more of a dictionary in Python. So that's why you get to access it as if it's an I think it's called an attribute or a key in a dictionary. Is that right? Is that what you call like a thing in
Yeah, they're called keys.
Yeah, they're called, yeah. I still remember. That's good. And yeah, it's kind of like an R where you can specify the colors. So like for the total assets, I want it in blue. The line width, I wanted this. And then for a marker, I wanted it to be this. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. Oh, we only got 13 minutes. All right, I'll go a little quicker. So PLC plot for line graphs. There's a lot of like cool little parameters you can put in to make it more colorful. It's just that this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. And it acts as the key of the dictionary, which is really a data frame of balance sheet. And likewise with here, but this time I want it to be red because it's the total liabilities, and that's the bad things. Ugh, that's the bad stuff. So you have the X label, the Y label, the title, and the legend too. So that's kind of this little block right here. You use the matplotlib, which I named PLT so I don't have to write up the whole thing. And that's how, yeah, that's how I kind of read it in. So matplotlib.byplot. So it's the method of matplotlib. I read it as PLT to make my graphs. So I have it right here. Where is it? Right there. Yeah, PLT matplot.byplot to plot as a line graph. And there's other plots too. I'll get right to them. I'll skip to it. Here I got the background to be dark background. So I want to be a little different. There's some more web scraping examples. So I go straight to back to Yahoo Finance, and I go to this main page of Apple to get pretty much some basic like numbers. So it's market cap. It's 2.3 trillion for Apple, and it's other statistics that you kind of use in the financial world for stocks. And this is really pretty cool. There's a better example down here. Let me go. I only got 13 minutes, so I'm just gonna skip to the nice stuff. So yeah, right here I have a histogram. So this is how you make. Oh, it's a bar chart, but I made it as a histogram. So right here you can actually get multiple graphs into like one like area, and it pretty much tells me information about dividend payments year over year. So from 2012 all the way to 2019, because I mean I guess they haven't updated 2020 yet, but yeah, for 2019, I made the style of ggplot. So you have your figure, which is this whole thing, and you have your axes, which is like 0 and 1, and then 0 and 1. So that's how you get to access these. So since I wanted this whole figure to have 2 rows, so 1, 2, and 2 columns of 1 and 2, I could decide the size of the figures themselves. So I made it by 15 by 15. So they're all kind of uniformly made. And when I specified Ax4, I made it into I pretty much tell Python for the figure on the top left corner of 0, 0, so 0, 0, I want to make a bar chart of the years and the dividends, and I want it to be light green, so that's how I got this number. And you can also tilt it too, so you can set plt.set p, that's kind of to tilt the x-axis, so that's how I got these little tilts. I'm going really fast right now, I'm sorry about that, but we're running out of time. So yeah, that's how you make these figures and axes. I'll probably download how I learned all of this to help you guys better. But yeah, I'll show you guys later on. And here's a little box chart too. And these are for the PE ratios, and that's pretty much how they kind of value it as stock, by how much they kind of earn you. So generally, the lower the better, because that's how you know you're getting a better deal. So for this stock, when I'm buying a stock, I usually try to aim for the median or below when I'm trying to enter a position. And these are just more of Matplotlib, the graphing. So plotting in a scatter plot too. I have it down here. So yeah, that's kind of my presentation. I'm gonna wrap it up pretty quick because then it's just Matplotlib from here. So I'll just kind of recap the last part of Beautiful Soup, where you kind of just use the request and the Beautiful Soup library to get data from a link. And from that link, you get to work through it. We kind of like zone into the HTML code. So I'll share it again for Chrome. You kind of like, I'm gonna show, yeah. You kind of just get to hone in from wherever it's highlighted and kind of aim it into it, and you just kind of copy and paste the tags of what specifically you want, and you read in that data. So you don't have to download anything. That's the beauty of this whole thing. You don't have to download anything. You just need the HTML code and the source code, which you can get by just viewing it normally. So just inspecting element, just go straight to inspect element. And yeah, and that's kind of what you kind of have to do for it.
Cool.